Okay, we're going to do lesson 8.2, which is to prepare a post-closing trial balance. And here all of our accounts are listed from our general ledger. So we have our assets, our liabilities, our capital, and then everything from drawing on should be zeroed out. And remember, I told you that when you zero it out on paper, you're going to draw lines. In MindTap, you put in a 0 for both. Okay, so all of these accounts have been closed, so they have 0 balances. A trial balance prepared after the closing entries are posted is called a post-closing trial balance. So after all adjustments, after everything's closed out, we have this post-closing trial balance. Only general ledger accounts with balances are included in this trial balance, this post-closing trial balance. So none of those temporary accounts are included in this report. So contains only permanent accounts, your assets, liabilities, and capital. Temporary accounts should have 0 balances, so are not included. Your total debit must equal your total credit at the end of this trial balance. Okay, so we see here we have the heading. Remember the who, the what, and the when. And notice that the when is on a specific date here. And so we have our account titles here. We start with our assets, and we have our liabilities, and then we have our capital. So those are all of our permanent accounts that we have. And then their balances, you see whether they have a debit or a credit balance. We single line rule because we're going to total these columns. Compare the totals to make sure they equal. Write in totals, record the totals, and double line rule when your debits equal your credits to say that it's proven it is correct. Okay, the series of accounting activities included in recording financial information for a fiscal period is called an accounting cycle. So we have gone through the accounting cycle now with preparing this post-closing trial balance. Okay, so this is a little visual to help us understand the accounting cycle and just how it works in one fiscal period, and then it starts over for the next fiscal period. So number 1, and it is important that you know exactly these steps, and for the test, you will have to remember these steps. Okay, number 1 is to analyze transactions, and so the visual here is showing us our source documents that we analyze into debit and credit parts. And so that is step number 1, source documents like your receipt or memos or different things like that. Number 2 is to journalize. Okay, so your debit and credit parts in your general journal here. Number 3 is posting from our journal to our general ledger, so making sure our account balances are up to date. Prepare the worksheet that has our different columns of preparing for our financial statements. So we prepare that worksheet, taking the information from the general ledger and account balances. Number 5 is to journalize and post adjusting entries, and remember that's your supplies and your prepaid insurance when you have those adjustments at the end of the month to account for what has been used. Number 6 is to prepare financial statements, and so it kind of branches off a little bit here. We prepare these 2 financial statements of that income statement and balance sheet. And then number 7 is to journalize and post closing entries. And number 8 is to prepare that post-closing trial balance. And that finishes out the end of the accounting cycle, the end of the fiscal period, and it starts over at number 1 for the next fiscal period. Now we'll go into MindTap and do the 8.2 work together.